Sometimes I hear feeling in touch with fear. Freedom we all hold dear now is at stake. Humble your heart to God, safe from the trashing wrong. Seek the way, pilgrim, strive, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to have a special show today because we have the privilege of having with us the judge-elect for juvenile court, Judge Shelia Calloway. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Campaigning is not fun, is it?
It was a lot of work. It was actually, there were a lot of fun parts of it. You know, when you're out in the community, you're meeting new people each and every day, every minute of the day. You're have the ability to get out and get your message out. So that part actually was kind of fun.
What stood out to you, and I've got some things down here I want to talk to you about, but what stood out when you was out in the community talking to people about you wanting to be juvenile judge, and you didn't have a problem with anybody, you just want to be juvenile judge. You wanted to be, because you told me, you know, I don't have a problem, but I just want to be judge, and that's good. I mean, everybody has a right to want to do something, you know. I wanted to be bright. I wasn't, but I still want to be bright. Well, when you was out among the people, what did you pick up? You've always been had a well understood. I'm trying to say adverse, but that's not it. You know what's going on in the community. That's what I'm going to say. I'm looking for a word, but I can't think of it. But you know what's going on. But did you pick up anything new? Or I know you had a lot of things, reinforcement.
You know, a couple of things that I learned during the campaign process was that people really are concerned about our children and our youth. And they really feel like there has to be a change and that we have to do things better, not just as the juvenile court, but as a community. And that's one of the things I think is so much important because, you know, at some point in society's history, we used to believe and live that it takes a village to raise children. And we moved from that and we became independent, we became families only. You know, it came down to single families working, trying to do it by themselves, and neighborhoods weren't as close as they were. And now we're moving back to the recognition that it takes that village, it takes neighborhoods, it takes people caring about each other to make a true difference in the lives of our children and our family.
I think we get confused, people like me, in my message, because I am so pro-family.
Right.
I think when you fix a family, you fix the problem. But that family has to have a community to function in. And you know, living in America and in capitalism and our culture, we are very good at either or.
Absolutely.
And many, many things in life are not either or, because when Jesus said, love your neighbors yourself.
Absolutely.
He's talking about the village.
Absolutely.
That's a village right there.
The entire village.
And when families, you look back at some of our history and some of the problems that we encountered is when families became isolated and thought that everything was just about them. And they didn't care about the village. They didn't care about the neighbor. And so I had spinoffs to it that just, you can't measure the amount of damage that mindset is. And race and just all over the board. So it is going to take a community, and Nashville is the perfect place.
Nashville is a perfect place, and you know, one of the things that I definitely learned while I was campaigning is there are so many community groups and neighborhood groups that really want to make a difference in Nashville. Nashville's growing, we're becoming more diverse, we are becoming a leader in the entire United States in many areas, and I know now that we are going to be one of the leading juvenile courts in our whole nation, because we are going to do more with the community and do more to be a part of the community. We can't be a building isolated thinking that we have all of the answers to all the problems if we're not a part of the community. And so as the next juvenile court judge, I definitely plan to open the doors to juvenile court, and not only open our doors to have people come, not just to come to court, but to come to help with our children and our youth and our families, but I'm going to expect that our employees are out in the community doing the same.
I think that'll go a long way because there's so many. I know a lot of families, and you know, they're really probably there would be classified as a family, But if you look at them closely, Judge, you're not gonna, there's nothing, no characteristics there that identify them as a family.
Absolutely.
The children don't have respect for the mother. Daddy is unknown. Children know who daddy is. That sounds terrible, but that's the world that a lot of our children live in. I have more children ask me, would you be my daddy? Because, you know, I'll go up to Shelia and the kids be standing around and I'll tell Shelia, you got the best daddy in the world. I'm trying to convince her, you know. And then I quit doing it around children because I'd have other children come up to me with hurt in their eye and say, would you be my daddy? You know, well, I'm old and wore out, you know, and I'm a has-been, and I just got a mouth. But to see the hurt in their eyes when I started trying, well, I'll do this for you and I can do that, but they didn't want me to do this and that. They wanted that relationship.
Absolutely. And as a juvenile court, we have the ability to help form those relationships. And, you know, a lot of times in the system, we do a lot of things to scare the fathers off. Like, if, you know, and I definitely believe that fathers have to step up and support their children financially, but they have to support their children emotionally, and they have to be a part of those children's lives. And so if all I'm after as a court system is making this guy pay money and not anything else, and I'm not helping him to forge relationships, I'm not helping him to, you know, have extra time with his child, I'm not providing a way for him to do that, then we are, as a court, hurting the system. We are hurting our children, and we're not helping them. And so one of the goals that I would have, or do have as a juvenile court judge, is to do more to help with the relationship building in the family. So that, you know, we currently, we order a father to pay support. They don't pay support. We haven't ordered out for them to be arrested, to them to serve time. They serve time, and then where does that leave them? That leaves them probably without a job, probably angry with the system, and probably no desire to try and bond with their children and improve the relationship. And so we have to flip that and take a better look at it. If we help them build that relationship, then they'll understand why it's important to do the financial part. But we got to get them to that point where they understand that the most important thing is that they build a bond with their child. And when they start bonding with their child, they start taking them to basketball games, football games, and, you know, just shopping, they will understand why they need to support their child financially.
Now, I have a case in point in one family that was in your court.
Yes.
And you ordered, personally yourself, you ordered the child support. But that follow-up was done on building and forming that relationship. And I know the daddy at that time did not see any responsibility. He honestly did not see responsibility because he thought the government should do that. Since then, Judge, he pays his child support regular.
Wonderful.
But every penny he makes, he spends on those children.
Wonderful.
He goes beyond the child support. It's minor compared, and he does it what you're saying. They go shopping, they do things together, they spend time together, and now they've even started going to church together.
Awesome.
And so the kids, you can look at the kids, Daddy's here.
Right.
And their mother told them the other night, and this is just a powerful statement to me, they was complaining about him when he came home. He wanted this done, he wanted that done, and just like kids, you know,
Right.
they won't do anything. And she said, look, girls, there's a lot of little children, and she named a street or two in downtown Nashville. And she said, they stand at the window looking out, wishing their daddy would come and see them. He never comes.
Wow.
And you're complaining about when he gets here, he wanted your room to be cleaned up when he gets here. You better be thankful for the daddy you got.
Amen.
And that's what you're talking about when
Absolutely.
you're fixing the family. That's what I'm talking about. When you fix the family, you fix the problem. How do you go about flipping that system? That's going to take a long time. And you're talking about changing people's attitude. Because, see, we've got this good old boy mentality in my folks.
Right.
That is, they think if you lock somebody up and throw away the key, you solve the problem. Brother, you just create the problem.
Absolutely. And, you know, it is a change in the mindset. And it's not going to be something that happens overnight. And I have to tell myself that on a regular basis, because I expect when I start off as September 1st that everybody's going to fall in line and understand and get the policy. But I understand that changing people's mindset takes some time. But what is going to help people is to actually see it working. And so when they see that family, that where the father previously wasn't paying, didn't care to pay, and all of a sudden, because he has a relationship, now he is paying, they can see that the first step is to form the relationship, and then to get to the point where the relationship builds. And it also, for people, you know, like when you said the good old boys kind of on your side, if you talk to them financially, and you explain to them it costs more
It does.
to incarcerate a juvenile for a year than it does to fix the family, and to give them the tools that they need to support one another and to support the community. It costs so much less to work with the family than it is to incarcerate the family.
Sheriff Hall drives that point home every time he has the opportunity, because he's closed 2 jails.
Yes.
And he gives it to you in dollars and cents. This saves the taxpayers X amount of dollars. He says it to arrest the crime, to arrest the problem.
Right.
The police arrest Chief Anderson, they arrest the criminal. We tried to arrest the problem.
Absolutely.
I was sitting in court yesterday, and there was a mother there on or a lady, I don't know if she's mother, I'm sure she was, but she was on a drug charge.
Okay.
The judge gave her 30 days. And I thought when she walked out, based on what Sheriff Hall had told me, they will get the needle out of her arm.
Right.
And they'll get her somewhat clean. But when she goes out in 30 days, she's back in the same community, same street, same friends.
Absolutely.
Back to the same needle.
Absolutely.
If they had her for 6 months,
Absolutely.
and they could start working on changing her to where she doesn't want those drugs, doesn't need those drugs, we had to pay for 6 more months of incarceration, and then we won't have a lifetime of incarceration.
Absolutely.
She can go out and become a working parent and can take care of her family and keep her children from following that, breaking that cycle. That's going to
Absolutely.
save us some money.
Absolutely.
If you look at it from just a monetary, from the dollar thing, fixing the problem and establishing those relationships. Now, here's where you're going to be really tested, and it's going to be difficult, because some of these relationships are so damaged.
Absolutely.
Mama hates him because she's got 3 children by 3 different guys. She hates all 3 of them.
Right.
They don't want nothing to do with her,
Right.
because they're walking around telling children, you're not none of mine.
Right.
And that's so damaging.
It is.
So damaging. And so you got your work cut out for you. How will you go about doing that? Do you have any idea?
You know, I definitely have my work cut out for me, but I am ready for that. And I am excited, you know, that we have a staff of over 100 people at Juvenile Court. And I just feel confident that they were ready for the work as well, and that they are ready for this needed change. It's going to take us time to get through all the families that come through here. And, you know, in my vision, at least for the next 8 years, and probably the next 16, I'll go ahead and claim that as well.
Okay.
That it's not just about, you know, we have to fix it one family at a time.
You will.
And so we work on this family, and then we can show the progress that this family has. And once we start building that village, so that family is going to reach out to another family and say, we know where you are, we know your struggles, let us help you. So it won't just be us, Juvenile Court, working by ourselves. We're going to ask, we're going to demand that the community work with us.
I go to, and I don't know where you've ever been to them, but Chief Anderson has a pastor's breakfast a couple of times a year, I guess. I was impressed the last one I went to. That may have been the first one I've gone to. I don't know. I'm not a very good citizen. I was impressed with 2 or 3 things.
Okay.
The number of ministers that he had at that breakfast, and I was impressed with the diversity. I mean, he had this one and that one, every name out there on the church sign. You got more churches in Middle Tennessee than you got anything else. You know, we got more churches and we got drug dealers, which tells you something about what our churches are doing or not doing. But the diversity and the unity in that room with all, because what it was, we were all unified because we had a common cause. We were there to help the police when they have a crime like a murder. And they bring in these volunteer chaplains to deal with those families and do the pickup after they go in and do the arrest and move out, but just not leave that family hanging out. They had people there from the community. And I would suggest something you might want to look at is pulling the churches together, getting them out of their fear of working with our young people, because I've heard them talk and they're scared of our young people.
Yeah.
because they say our children come in their buildings, they will damage their buildings. My kids never done anything wrong. I got news for those pastors. My kids don't do things wrong. They got things in their building they don't need.
Right.
That's right. And you may have to lock some things up. Right. You may have to, you may not make it as pretty as you want to make it, but the children are more important
Absolutely.
than things.
Absolutely.
So that may be a format to help get churches. If you can get churches to come on board with you in a big way and get them involved, because in a church you may have, 50 families, a small church, you may have 50 families, and only 2 of those families will have the courage or the passion.
Right.
Boy, 2 families can make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I like that. I like that vision. Now, what about the guy that not going to do the relationship? He's going to tell you he's going to do what he wants to do when he wants to. He is not going to pay for his kids. He hates their mother. He's going to be defiant. What happens to him?
And there are times that if you try and you do all that you can, and the scripture says to stand, if he doesn't want the help and he doesn't want to make a change, then there is the alternative that we do have to incarcerate. And incarceration is not going to be our first option. It's going to be an option that we have to use in certain occasions, but it's going to be the last option. And we're going to do everything that we can to reach out and to keep trying and to keep pulling people back in. There are so many, another thing that you learn when you're campaigning, that there are so many agencies that are willing to work with people. Mm-hmm. And there's always, you understand that in this work, there's 1 step forward, 3 steps backwards, but you just keep working. And so eventually it'll change. You never give up. It'll change to that 3 step forward, 1 step back.
Right.
And then eventually you'll be on the right path.
You have a good relationship with Sheriff Hall.
I do.
When you're talking about this guy that's just hard-headed, he's going to do it his way. He's stuck on stupid. Thinks he knows more. When he is incarcerated, if we could put him into a training.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know where you can order that or not. Because can you order that, or
I bet we can, and it's something I'll talk to Sheriff Hall about.
But if they could be put into a family dynamic course about the role of a father, loving the children, and take that back, because usually when they're that hard-headed, there's something else going on in their life. They got some kind of mental, psychological breakdown somewhere. Because to not love a child,
right?
You're not loving a child. I mean, you're pretty low life.
That's absolutely right.
In my book,
especially that child that came from you. That has
yes.
Your genes, your DNA in you.
Yes. You're pretty much. Ladies, if your children's daddies is not involved in your life, you need to reach out to them.
Absolutely.
And try to get them to help you raise those children. I know you got an attitude, but hey, did nobody make you bring that child in the world? That was some of your behavior. And you need to take ownership of it and love that baby that's here, and let that baby be a blessing to you and to that child's daddy. And go ahead.
I think one of the things that's so important about what you're just saying, that message you're making, is that child has no idea about why the father's not involved in their life.
That's right.
And that child is going to internally believe it's something wrong with them.
And I can't explain that.
Absolutely.
But that's truth.
That's absolutely. And so while the mother may be mad at the father because he didn't do her right, or didn't take care of her, you cannot let your child have that same feeling, or just to be disconnected or isolated from their father. They have 2 parents. They see where families have 2 parents. They know they're supposed to have 2 parents. They don't understand all of that, and it hurts them, and it forever scars them. And we have to erase those scars, and we have to do better.
We can get agencies or people to help those mothers to understand you never say anything bad about the child's father.
Absolutely.
And same thing from the father. I mean, it goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
Never say anything about the child's parent except a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Which means some of y'all are going to keep your mouth shut for a long time because you can't think of anything positive.
Right.
And just look at yourself when you do this. The Bible is very clear. God speaks clear. Love is the answer.
Absolutely.
And you have so much hate built up in your heart that you can't love. You need to repent You need to turn your life back to God. You need to, because you and I both know it ain't working for you.
Right.
The hatred does not work for you, and it's not working for your children, and you're being robbed of tremendous blessings and joys in your life. And just face it, it's not working for you. So change your life, repent, turn back to God, and start trying to say good things about other people, and stop saying all the bad things, and your life will be a whole lot better off.
I totally agree.
You pull the churches in and then the community organizations in.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in Nashville that can just get involved in children's lives and be a spark. I read something, Brother Cantrell that works for me, Larry. He's the man that's going to take my place, but I'm probably going to outlive him, and that's going to be a disaster. I done told him, you better not. The Search Institute that did all this research on a child, and they said something, I'm paraphrasing this, but before you write about this, you want to check it out, make sure it's totally accurate.
All right.
For a child that comes out of a at-risk home with a single parent, if they have an intervention of an outside group that comes in once a week and does something with that child, that affirms that child as to who they are,
right,
that child very likely is going to have the same benefit and the same success rate as a child that comes out of a two-parent home because of the intervention from the outside.
Absolutely.
And I hear over and over about people's involved in our ministry. Their ministry goes beyond the law of what we do on Monday, Tuesday, at nights and all. But those relationships go on to Saturday morning for coffee, or Saturday mornings at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever. It's relationships.
It's about a relationship. And if you can remember when you were young, the people that you built relationships, whether it was family, friends, neighbors, those people, you wanted to do well for them. And you wanted to please them, or you wanted to make them proud of what the things that you were doing. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a whole lot of extra support and a whole lot of people, then you have a motivation to do well. And so that's what's going to keep our kids out of the juvenile court system, is that they're going to build these relationships early on in their life. They're going to have people that they can turn to, have people that they want to do well for, and for those people to be proud of them. And so they're not going to do the things. The reason that a lot of children join gangs is because they get support.
That's right.
They get love.
That's right.
And so we have to do the gangs from a positive point and not from the negativity.
Build those relationships.
Building relationships. Gangs are building relationships.
I'm talking a lot about Sheriff Hall, and I'm sure he'd appreciate it if I just shut up. But I wouldn't hurt a guy he brought in here from New York. He's a guru of how to keep people from repeating and going back into prison. Okay. There's a word for it, but I can't think of it.
Recidivism.
Yes, recidivism. Okay. Whatever it is, yeah. And he said it's not it. He said after all their research, and they've done tons of research, it all boils down to relationships.
Right.
If you build a relationship with a person, he gets out of jail, he has a church family to be connected to, or an event family. He got people that's going to be with him. He's not left alone. He's got a job. He's got people checking on him in his job and helping him. He don't go back to jail.
That's exactly right. And we don't do enough for that relationship building before they go to jail.
Because government gets caught up in enforcing the law.
Yes.
We are only 4 minutes to go, Judge.
Okay.
Now, you had some things I'm sure you want to say it I didn't touch on, but do you need to take the floor for 4 minutes? You can preach for 4 minutes if you want to.
One of the things I want to say is that I definitely appreciate the support of the community. The election was for me, it was a great just acknowledgement of that people were supporting me, and people were behind me, and people believed in the vision that I had for juvenile court. It's going to take some time to make the necessary changes. I just continue to ask that all the people continue to support me, to reach out, offer whatever they can offer. There are so many things that I want to do. I want to be in the community. I want to make sure that every child that comes to the system has a mentor, whether it's a court order mentor or someone in their community that they can say, this is my mentor. I want to eventually have it where there's hardly any children in our juvenile detention center, and where we are building relationships between the father and their children. And so there are a lot of things on my agenda that I would like to do. I just thank everybody and just ask for your continued support.
You'll be a facilitator. The Scripture teaches that we should pray for those people that's in authority, and we don't need to complain about America. We need to be praying for our leaders.
Yes.
And we're praying for Judge Calloway and the other judges sitting here that in our community is judging people's lives, that they'll have the wisdom that will help people make good decisions. We've got a lot to do.
We've got a lot to do.
But we've got a lot of children. Nashville's a great place to be able to do it in. And I am pleased to have you and know your work. You got a PhD from Vanderbilt in jurisprudence. Did I say that? Jurisprudence. She be smart. That's what they're saying. And you can intellectually wrap your mind around the challenges that's in front of you, and you'll be doing a lot of writing, I would suppose.
Yes.
And because you're going to have to get things out where people can
absolutely
and be doing a lot of speaking, and you can do that well. I just think we've got a great future of helping our children to know that God doesn't make junk.
That's exactly
that they
right.
are special and that they can be accountable. We've got a lot of work to do in supporting our school system.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of work to do in supporting our families.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of work to do in supporting community, businesses in our community to employ and take the child that may not have the best application, but just needs a chance.
Absolutely.
And we've got to also do a lot of work to help people understand that everybody deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
And some of us have to have a third and fourth chance.
Right.
But we can do it if we work
can
together.
Do it.
And say something. We got 55 seconds. Say something to the mothers out there, to my people. Talk to my people, Judge.
You know, I just want to say to the mothers, I am a mother, and my child has a father, and it is so important that if you can't live together, that you do what you can to get along for the sake of your child. At some point, to be a great mother, you have to recognize that it's no longer about you, it's no longer about your feelings, but it's about your child.
That's
and
beautiful.
So what you have to do is put your child first.
See, this lady's got it. She understands. It's something to do with that Vanderbilt degree out there, I think. But she said what I've been wanting to say. And mothers, we're going to have a good time in this town. We're going to help our children. We're going to reach out to kids in our community. And I want to encourage you to be in prayer and help and be supportive and keep tuning in. And God bless you, and God bless your family.
To God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. What troubles will soon be, or happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care, rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye. Home we will fly, glory to share.